And God said, Behold, I have given you every herb-bearing seed. To you it shall be for food. Genesis 1:29. Man did eat angels' food. He sent them meat to the full. Psalm 78:25. Everyday Manna with Lisa.
Hi everybody, and welcome to Everyday Manna. On today's program, we are going to be making a bacon and apple glazed chicken. Then we're going to serve that over some lemon parsley orzo. On the side, we're going to have some sauteed apples and some zucchini and yellow squash with some little red pepper flakes. It's going to be delicious. But the first thing we're going to do, I have a pot of water that I have brought to a boil on the stove, and I'm going to add 1 cup of orzo. Now, if you have never used orzo, let me show you what it looks like. It is just a little tiny rice-shaped pasta grain. It's a pasta. It's a pasta product, but it looks like little tiny rice, grains of rice. It's delicious, and so we're going to use 1 cup. 1 cup of this serves a lot of people. Trust me, it just cooks up and up and up and up. I cooked a whole package one time and couldn't believe how much it made. But we're going to add a little bit of salt to our water. So I've got 1 cup of the orzo. Orzo cooks pretty quick. It'll be done in just a matter of probably 6 or 7 minutes. It's a small pasta, and then we'll drain that. We'll dress that up. I'm preheating this big skillet here, this big Dutch oven type pan, and we're going to cook some bacon. Now I need half of a package of a 12-ounce package. We're going to use half of that. You could use it all if you wanted to. And we're just going to, it's just a habit of mine, whenever I know I'm going to be crumbling up my bacon, I go ahead and slice it into little dices before I cook it, and that way it's just ready to go for you. So I go ahead and chop my bacon. You don't have to. You can fry it in slices and then crumble it later. But we want to cook half of a package of 12 ounces of bacon, or 6 ounces of bacon, in our skillet. We're going to fry this off. We're going to leave the drippings in there, but take out the bacon so we can just add that in a little bit later. And we'll just move our bacon over to here, the rest of it. Now I have 4, let me get this up here, boneless, skinless chicken breasts that we are going to, now you could do this recipe one of 2 ways. You could cook the chicken breast whole if you wanted to. If you were grilling outside, you could just go ahead and grill the chicken breast and then brush it with the marinade. But we're going to do it a little bit different today. We're going to go ahead and cube up our chicken breast and then saute them in the bacon drippings that we're going to add some olive oil to. So right now I've got 4 beautiful, big, boneless, skinless chicken breasts. This is a very lean, healthy meal. It's delicious. Bacon, to me, and chicken and apples are a just natural pairing. They just play so well off of each other. I'm going to trim off a little bit of that fat. And they just, bacon with chicken is delicious. And so this is just a natural combination. And I thought, what if we made a glaze and we used another one of my favorite products, which is apple butter. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to use some apple butter. We're going to use some apple pie spices, it's a spice mixture that you can buy in the store. But if you don't want to buy the apple spice mix, you can use some cinnamon, most of it cinnamon, and then a little bit of nutmeg and a little bit of allspice. That's what apple pie spice is. It's just a blend that's pre-made up in your grocery store, but it's cinnamon, nutmeg, and allspice. But I just purchased it, went ahead and got the apple pie spice. But you can make your own if you want to. I find a lot of the spice blends, once you taste it, you can customize it to your own flavor. And, you can add a little more cinnamon or a little less, and a little more allspice if that's, one of those things that you really like. You can custom blend your spice mixes. I don't know if you realize that, but like poultry seasoning that we always buy at Thanksgiving to cook with our stuffing and our turkey, that's just, that's one of those blends that you can make up as you go. Our bacon is cooking away here. We're just chopping up our chicken breasts. I'm doing them in about 1-inch cubes, just a small bite-sized piece. That one's a little big. No, that's 2 pieces there. Chicken is a very lean, healthy dish. You could substitute in this if you wanted to do turkey. You know, you can buy the turkey pieces now in your meat department. Instead of getting a big turkey, you can buy the individual turkey breasts. You could use that. You could use the chicken thighs if you wanted to. You can buy boneless chicken thighs. I just happen to really like the breast meat. It's leaner to me. It's, you know, it's just, you know, not as fatty as, say, your chicken thighs, but maybe you like dark meat. Feel free to substitute the dark meat in this. It would be perfectly fine. And I've got to stir my bacon here. But I've got 4 boneless, skinless chicken breasts that I have just cubed up here, as you can see. Get that little piece of skin off, and I've got half of the package of the bacon just cooking in my skillet. I'm going to stir the bacon. All right, now our bacon is done. We removed it, and we want to add to our hot skillet. Be very careful with this. We're going to add our chicken pieces. Be very careful, please. It's hot. All in the pan. Everybody in the pot here. Spread that out into as single of a layer as you can get. Don't move it around too much right yet. Salt and pepper this side. Not too much salt, because remember the bacon, you know, has a lot of salt. You'll find in this program I don't use a lot of salt. I try to not. I like to flavor it up with other things as much as I can, but you need a little bit. Okay, there we go. We've got our salt and our pepper. Now our orzo is done. Let me show you what. Now you remember I put in this pot 1 cup of orzo, and I want you to look at how much orzo that 1 cup made. Look at all that. Now that is finished, but let's finish the sauce here. We want to zest over the pot. Just zest a lemon over your orzo. Remember what that is. That's just the outer portion, the yellow portion only of the outside of a lemon. It has got so much flavor. That's where all the essential oils of the lemon are, and we want to use that. That has so much flavor in it. So zest your lemon. And there's no sense in dirtying up another pot. Just do it over the pot. Be careful that you don't burn your arm. Okay, remember the back of your zester, always tap it so that you get the juice that stays on, or the zest that stays on the back. Add about, I don't know, 3-4 tablespoons or so of good olive oil, extra virgin olive oil. Then you want to juice your lemon. We already zested it. And my little lemon reamer. I love this little tool. It gets all of the juice out of your lemon. Just put it in the center and turn it. You see how much juice we're getting there? It's the juice of the whole lemon. I see a couple little seeds in there. I'll have to fish them out. Our chicken is browning away. I got to take a quick break. When I come back, we're going to finish this up and stir our chicken. I'll be right back with you in just a minute. All right, now welcome back. We have just put our lemon zest and our lemon juice in our orzo. I'm going to take about half a cup or so of I love the flat leaf Italian parsley. Let me clear me a workspace here. Take your knife, about half of a cup of parsley. Now I use the Italian flat leaf parsley, but you by all means could use the regular curly parsley if you wanted to. It's, you know, that's one of those decisions that's completely yours. You could add really any kind of herb that you wanted to. I like the flavor of parsley. Some people seem to think it just doesn't do anything. I differ. I think it adds a brightness to a lot of your dishes, and it's one of those herbs that's readily available in your grocery stores, and it's not expensive. You know, some of those little packages of the fresh herbs that you can buy can be costly, and I really try not to use those unless it's just an essential ingredient. But this is one of those things. I think a bunch of parsley is like 99 cents, and it really brightens up your food. And I think the flat leaf Italian parsley has almost a lemony flavor. But if you'll notice, I'm just working my knife back and forth. Put one end of your knife on your cutting board, hold it with your fingers, and then just mill through whatever herb you're chopping. In this case, it's parsley. And what that does, as you can see, it just kind of chops the parsley fine. And that's about right. So let's add that to our lemon and olive oil orzo. And your orzo is done. And you just want to stir that in. See how pretty that is, and green and bright. And that's delicious alongside this chicken dish. The chicken has got a lot of flavor going on, so the orzo just really complements that. Let's just put the lid on that and let that kind of hang out. Let's check our chicken. It's browning up, which is exactly what you want it to do. You see how it's getting that good, beautiful brown caramelization on there. You may need to switch to tongs to kind of get your individual little pieces turned. Sometimes if you just use this, just your regular spatula, you don't get them all flipped at one time. So sometimes you just want to switch to tongs. You want them all good and brown, and you want to cook the chicken through at this point, because when we add the glaze, really all we're doing is, all that we're going to do is just heat the glaze through and kind of coat the chicken. So you want to make sure that your chicken is completely done. Now, chicken is one of those meat products that, you want to make sure there's absolutely no pink whatsoever left in your chicken. Now, let's move on to our squash. One of my favorite things in the summertime is going to my mom's garden. She raises a garden. And I go and I raid her garden, and I get all of her squash and the cucumbers and the different, produce items out of her garden, and I steal it. So I've got some beautiful squash here. I'm just going to trim the ends off, and we're going to just slice up our squash. These are little, so we just kind of want to cut them in little half moons. Now I've got my skillet preheating on medium-high heat. I'm just slicing up the squash. I've washed them beforehand. We're just going to slice it into half moons here. This is a quick, easy dish. Maybe if you're grilling outside, you could, if you have one of those little vegetable baskets that you can get anywhere that, sells grilling supplies, any of your big stores will have them. You could do this part of it on the grill if you wanted to. I've cooked squash on the grill many times. We're just going to slice those. Now our pan is preheated. We want to add about a tablespoon or so of olive oil, and we want to add our squash to our pan. Just kind of turn it down just a little bit. This is a good way to use a lot of your squash out of your gardens too. Add just a little bit of salt and freshly ground pepper. Lots of pepper. And we're going to add about a tablespoon or half of a tablespoon or so of crushed red pepper flakes. This is one of those things you want to put in your hand and kind of take your fingers and just kind of work them between your fingers. What that does is that releases the oils out of the pepper flakes. And stir that up. Let's check our chicken here. We're working in a lot of pots today, aren't we? Doesn't that look good? Look at that chicken. Good and brown. Let's check that. Almost done. Almost. While that's cooking, let's make our glaze for our chicken. In my bowl, I'm going to add about half of a cup of just apple butter. Any kind that you like. You don't have to be precise on this. You can just do about half of a cup. approximately. I'm going to use about 3/4 of a tablespoon of the apple pie spice. Remember I told you that cinnamon, allspice, and nutmeg. A little bit of salt, just a little bit, maybe half of a teaspoon. Some freshly ground pepper. My pepper doesn't want to come out today for some reason. Just a little bit of pepper. About 6 or so tablespoons of olive oil. Extra virgin. I always use extra virgin olive oil. Some people say, you know, just use the regular olive oil for cooking and say, but I like the flavor of the extra virgin better. And about 3 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. Stir that together, and that's what we're going to glaze our chicken with. Just kind of set that to the side, stir that up and just set that to the side, and that is what we're going to glaze our chicken with. Let's check our squash here. Just kind of look how pretty that is with the green and the yellow. I got to take another quick break. When I come back, we're going to finish up the chicken, make our apples, and finish our squash. I'll be right back with you in just a minute. Hey, and welcome back. Now, all I did over the break was add about a teaspoon or so of dried rosemary to our squash, and our squash is done. I like it to get that little bit of caramelization on there, but now I like my squash to have a little bit of a bite to it still. I still like it to be a little bit crisper. So the squash is finished. Let's just kind of get that off to the side. Our chicken is done. We're going to add all but about a tablespoon or so of this glaze to our chicken. Let's save a little bit of that for the apples that we're going to cook. Just kind of stir that all together. Oh, that looks and smells. I wish that you could smell this dish. And there's your chicken, and your chicken is done. So let's turn that down and just kind of let that glaze warm through and coat and oh, it smells so good. And then we'll add our bacon back in. Let's just sprinkle our bacon back over our chicken. Can't wait to eat that. Now, I have a skillet here preheating. I'm going to add about 2 tablespoons of butter to our skillet. Now, what goes really well with a poultry dish or a pork dish is apples, sauteed apples. So we're going to have that as one of our side dishes today. It's a good way to get your fruit in to your diet, and it just tastes so good. So to that, I'm using McIntosh apples because they happen to be my favorite apple, and they cook really, really well. You could use any kind of apple that you liked. I would not use Red Delicious because Red Delicious kind of falls apart when you cook it. But any other kind of apple, Granny Smith would be fine. I just really like the McIntosh apples. So I have done probably 3 or 4 of my little apples because McIntoshes, as you can tell, are a little smaller. So I'm going to do like 4 or 5 of the apples. But if you're using a bigger apple, you know, 3 would probably be plenty. As a matter of fact, I think for this skillet, I will do 1 more. Easy way to do your apples. I have cleaned them, cut them in half, cut them into a quarter, and then on an angle, take your knife and just go in and cut out that core. I don't own an apple corer. If you have an apple corer and you want to use it, by all means do. But, you know, a knife works for me just as good. Just cut it, and then there you go. You've cut out all of your core, and then just slice your apples. And our apples will just saute up a little bit here. We're going to add, once they soften a little bit, we're going to add the rest of that marinade that we made for our chicken. We're going to add that to our apples, and that just kind of marries the flavors together. So there's my final little apple. Just taste one. So good. Crisp. I love McIntosh apples. Let me grab a spoon. We're not going to cook these down to where they're like apple butter. Really all we're doing is just kind of sauteing them a little bit and adding that glaze. We want to soften them, really, is all we're doing. Yum. Just looks delicious. I think I need to add about another pat of butter, maybe another tablespoon of butter. They seem to be kind of absorbing all that butter in there. Okay. Now, for dessert, we're going to make dessert too today. Let's get our chicken stirred here one more last time. For dessert, we are going to make individual banana puddings, only we're not going to use vanilla wafers like you normally would use. We are going to use some pound cake that I bought at the store, already baked. I love this product. It's one of my favorite things to buy in the bakery department because it's so versatile. And the store that I shop at happens to make fantastic little pound cakes. But you can by all means get the frozen ones if you want to also. We're going to cut our pound cake into cubes. You know, banana pudding is typically, let's cut it across this way, is always made with those Nilla wafers, which I love. But I thought, you know, what if we did that with pound cake? Wouldn't that not be delicious? I think it would be. So we're going to just cut our pound cake into little bite-sized cubes. And you see what you end up with are just little individual little cubes of pound cake. We are going to make some just pudding. I just bought one package of a vanilla pudding. I'm using the French vanilla pudding, but you can use whatever you like. Okay, now we've got our 2 cups of milk. I'm using 2%, but you could use whatever you have on hand. And 1 package, like I said, I'm using the French vanilla instant pudding. You could use the regular vanilla. You could use banana pudding if you wanted to. I just really like the vanilla. We're going to mix that up for just a minute here. It's just a mixer. You know, those instant puddings, you can do a million things with them. You can, you know, of course, eat them as pudding, individual little puddings. Or you could do what I'm doing and make, you know, different little puddings and, you know, individual little banana puddings. You could substitute, if you don't like bananas, you could do strawberries in this or any kind of berry that you like. You know, we're coming into the seasons where there's a lot of the fresh berries. By all means, you could use any kind of berry that you like. So we mixed up our pudding. Let's just kind of let that set for a minute to kind of firm up. Just takes a second. Let's check our apples here. They're looking good. Now what we want to do is add the rest of our wonderful glaze that we made for our chicken over our apples. Stir that in to your apples. Just stir that up. Yum. Looks good. And they're done. Because you really just kind of want to soften the apples. That's really all you're doing, is softening up those apples and glazing them. Don't they look good? That would be a wonderful little breakfast dish. Maybe you were making, you know, homemade pancakes or something for breakfast. You could do these apples and just serve, you know, over with as a side dish to your breakfast. Would be delicious. Let's take our little individual pudding cups, layer in some pieces. Oh, so good. See, our pudding got nice and thick already. Put a couple of spoons full of our pudding over our little pieces of pound cake. Pound cake is another one of those things that's so versatile. If you know, maybe you're not into making really big desserts, big fancy desserts, buy a pound cake, cut it up into pieces like this or just slice it, serve it with fresh fruit. Is a wonderful way to get your family to eat fruit. And you know, and your kids, my kids love to help make this kind of thing. Get your children in the kitchen with you. I've gotten so many emails from you stating that, you know, you get your kids in the kitchen and how much your children really like helping you to cook, and it's so important that you get them in there. I had the sweetest email. I'm just slicing a banana, but I got to tell you about this email that I got a couple of days ago. I won't call his name. It was from a gentleman. And evidently the way that he worded his email, he was a younger guy, and he loved the program that I made with my boys, and we made cookies. And he said it brought a tear to his eye because it took him back to his childhood of making cookies with his mother. And that just touched my heart so much. And I thought, you know, I hope everybody has those kinds of memories. We're going to add a few slices of banana to our little individual banana puddings. Oops, that one fell in the pudding. That's okay because it's going right in that pudding. Then add a few more pieces of your pound cake over top of that. Little bite-sized pieces. I'm fighting the urge to take a bite of that pound cake. Add a little more of your pudding over top. Easy. This is so easy. Anybody out there could do this dessert. It is not, you know, anything that you could not do. Then on top of that, we are going to take some whipped cream and we are just going to top our little individual banana puddings. And I like chocolate, so we're going to take just a little tiny bit of cocoa powder over top of our little individual banana puddings. Now, doesn't that look good? There you go. We'll just put both of those right down there. Now, let's serve up our food because I'm ready to eat. We'll put some of our chicken here. Let me make room to set this plate down. Let's see what we got here. We've got some gorgeous chicken glazed with bacon and an apple butter mixture that we made. Then we've got our wonderful sauteed apples on the side here. Put just a little bit of that over there right beside your chicken. We've got our wonderful squash. Remember our sauteed squash that we made from our garden fresh squash. And we can't forget our beautiful, refreshing, fresh lemon orzo, lemon and parsley orzo that we made as an accompaniment to our chicken. There you go. This is a meal fit for a king. I hope that you will try these recipes for your family. Thank you for joining with me, and I'll see you next time on Everyday Manna.
Thank you for watching Everyday Manna with Lisa. This program is made possible by viewers like you. Your support is continually needed to keep Christian programming on the air. Please send your best financial gift to Living Faith Television in care of Everyday Manna, P.O. Box 1867, Abingdon, Virginia 24212.